Uh-oh. Okay, we'll start with this. It would seem that unbeaten up-and-comer in the bantamweight division, Rihanna Rios, is set to return to action early next month on the 8th in what will be only her second pro box appearance. The last time we saw her, she was in there with former EBU champion Mary Romero. This time, she's going to be in there with Mexico's own Nancy Franco. Scheduled for 6 rounds in the women's bantamweight division. Bantamweight, that's where Shernika Johnson holds the WBA title. That's where Sharita Metcalf holds the IBF, and that's where Dina Thorsland has the other two alphabet titles. That's where this fight is taking place. This fight between Rihanna Rios, 30 years old, sporting a professional record of 8 wins with no losses, no draws, 1 recorded knockout, to Nancy Franco, who sports a professional record of 19 wins with 21 losses, 2 draws, 5 knockouts, having been knocked out 5 times in 42 professional bouts. Not necessarily a step up from the Mary Romero fight, not necessarily a step up in class. Fighting Nancy at this point is a learning fight. Like that was a learning fight. Not only 8-0. Rihanna has a lot to learn. She still has a lot to learn. I mean, that's what I saw in the Mary Romero fight last year, that there were some rough patches, some rough spots there for Rihanna Rios. So I'm perfectly okay with the Nancy Franco fight. You look at Nancy's last 6 to 7 fights, and it's a virtual who's who of talented up-and-comers, whether it's Christina Cruz or Liana Cruz, Bree Howling, Jasmine Artiga, Tania Enriquez. Now Rihanna Rios. Rihanna Rios, who only saw action once, just once last year in June, in that Mary Romero fight I just mentioned. Hopefully she can be a bit more active this year, a bit more busy. For a fighter with only 8 professional bouts to have only fought once the entire calendar year, that's not good. Ideally, she would have fought 3 to 4 times in the early stages of a fighter's career. That's when they're the most active, when they're supposed to be. It's not unusual for a fighter to fight 3 and 4 times in a single calendar year. So Rihanna Rios only fought once last year. She's getting off to an early start. This one, facing Nancy in February, which leaves her plenty of time to schedule a fight over the summer months and perhaps again in the fall or winter. This is a 6-rounder. Rihanna Rios has yet to fight in a 10-rounder. She's still building herself up. But she is one of the better unbeaten up-and-comers coming through, and one to watch out for. I think she's a ways out from challenging for an alphabet title. I think it'll be some time and some fights before she's not only ready to fight for a title, but ready to win one and defend one. Dina Thorsland, Shernika Johnson, they're a lot more experienced than she is. Sharita Metcalf, a lot more experience. I don't think that Rihanna should focus on winning an alphabet title, a world title this year. She has to focus on building herself up, having more fights, banking more rounds, garnering more experience. That has to be the focus. Though she's definitely talented and definitely one to watch out for. Look for the ring return of Rihanna Rios early next month on the 8th via ProBox. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, Cesar Seda of Boxeo Urbano Network is reporting that given Teofimo Lopez's public displeasure with Toprank and possible contract buyout, Matias versus Rodriguez, Elvis Rodriguez, is now in talks for the #1 IBF super lightweight ranking, just in case Teofimo Lopez versus Subriel Matias doesn't happen. And it might not. Seeing a lot of Teofimo Lopez advocating for free agency, saying, I am too expensive for Top Rank. But the truth is that Todd do both is the issue here. He hasn't liked me or my father since I started the takeover in 2018 and probably beforehand. Now he is the chairman of Top Rank, so people do the math. By law, I have freedom of speech.
Yeah, but so does everybody else. It doesn't work one way.
I've paid my consequences. I've earned all my things rightfully so. I am not here to be at war with anyone or anything. I am asking for a buyout number. That is all.
But you're doing it publicly via your social media as if that's the kind of conversation you have in public. What are you trying to do? Use the public to put pressure on Todd Duboff?
When you go about things this way, it's because you're trying to curry and cultivate sympathy. Sympathy from the boxing community at large, and I am less than sympathetic when it comes to Teofimo because he's a pain in the ass.
He always has been.
You can never just do a fight for this kid without some kind of drama, some grand production ensuing. I remember immediately after he fought Josh Taylor, and he had that great showing, he's the one who decided that he wants to momentarily retire.
Why?
What the hell was the point of that? After a showing like that one, you have to try to keep the momentum going. You have to try to stay talked about. You have to try to stay relevant. Staying relevant is a marathon, not a sprint. You could become yesterday's news as soon as tomorrow.
It's your job to make sure that doesn't happen.
Lopez continued, I am marketable, profitable, a visionary person, clean fighter, athlete, kid-friendly, and with not one mugshot for battery or anything of that such.
Is he right?
He says he's marketable. He says he's profitable. But in reality, he never graduated from the Hulu Theater. He's never sold 6,000, 7,000, 10,000 tickets, 15, 20.
You want to talk about marketable? You want to talk about profitable?
What you are is greedy. Another greedy fighter with a greedy team that is overestimating their value, trying to make the promoter out to be the bad guy.
You want they should go shake the money tree, give you some of that money that's growing on trees?
Except that money doesn't. So often the fighters and their teams try to make the promoters out to be the bad guys when these fighters and their teams wouldn't get anywhere without those promoters, without the investment that a promoter makes. In this instance, a Top Rank. Whatever you are now is a byproduct of the money they invested in you.
And without that, your career doesn't go nowhere. How many fighters do you see that aren't with a Top Rank or a Matchroom or a Golden Boy? How many fighters do you see that aren't with a major promotional outfit and struggle as a result? Struggle to get fights, fight dates, struggle to be seen, struggle to stay relevant. How many?
Where a fighter like Teofimo Lopez, in his early 20s, was already boxing on a major platform, the biggest sports network in the country. Top Rank did a good job of promoting this young guy, but your limitations are what your limitations are. That's not their fault.
You say the Top Rank can't afford you. Why should you come with such a hefty price tag?
You don't sell 10, 15,000 tickets for a fight. 20,000. You've never even been on pay-per-view, so why should you be so expensive? What about you?
Why should they have to break the bank for you? They know what your numbers are, more than we do.
So often what the fighters like to do is make themselves out to be the victim, that it's the promoter holding them back when the promoter doesn't benefit from your failures. They want you to succeed because when you succeed, they do too.
Since it's their money that's paying to make everything happen, your fight, your opponent, your career, your press, your marquee value, they don't benefit from your failures.
Your shortcomings, as hard as this might be for some people to believe, Top Rank don't benefit from Teofimo's failures. They don't gain anything out of that.
The money they've invested in him.
All I see is a spoiled brat. A guy who entered into an agreement with Top Rank and doesn't want to see out the life of the deal. He's been trying to terminate it early. For months.
So now he's talking about a buyout, but who's supposed to buy it out? Your contract.
He said, I fought twice last year. Neither Ryan, or Devin, or Shakur, and I think Wahid hasn't fought more than once last year of 2024. Stop the lies, Mama Guebo.
He's always comparing himself to other fighters.
Wahid, Shakur, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, and Terrence Crawford all fought once last year. I am the only one who fought twice. Bunch of Mama Guebos full of algorithm bots.
So what if you did? So what if you fought twice?
So what? Those weren't big fights. Those weren't big-name opponents. Jermaine Ortiz and Steve Claggett, the least you can do is fight 2 times. He said the Top-Rank ESPN contract ends July 26th of this year, and for contractual reasons, cannot overlap another network deal until then. If so, it becomes a conflict of interest, which can bind their current contract. They need Teofimo to get a more lucrative network deal.
And there he is, once again overstating his value in all of this, the way the fighters often do.
He's talking about a buyout, buying out his existing deal, which likely only has 1 or 2 fights left in it. So put your thinking caps on, kids. If all this guy owes Top Rank is maybe 1 fight, maybe 1, maybe 2, the deal is almost done. All you've got to do is hold up your end and fight.
That's what Shakur Stevenson did. That's what Terrence Crawford did before him. Why can't you do that?
See out the life of the deal and hold up your end of the bargain. You're talking about a buyout when you probably only owe them 1 more fight.
Why?
He's scared to lose, folks. That's what it is. He's scared to lose. Whether it's the Matias fight that they're talking about or the Brian Norman fight they were talking about before that. Those are risky fights for Teofimo, who hasn't looked on form his last 2 fights. The Ortiz fight, the Claggett fight.
So if the deal is almost done, why are you now talking about a buyout? It's because you're afraid they're going to put you in there with somebody and they're going to beat you.
And when they beat you, that will hamper your bargaining power moving forward. All of this to achieve free agency. To go where? And negotiate with who? You don't like Matchroom any more than you like Top Rank.
The PBC ain't got no fight dates. They ain't got no money.
Golden Boy's not going to overpay you. So when you pursue free agency, it's to go where and negotiate with who?
To do what?
What do you think? You become a free agent and this turns into a Cinderella story? Turkey's gonna swoop in with all his money and pick you up?
Is that what you're hoping for? You're talking about a buyout. Who's supposed to buy them out?
Eddie Reynoso? Canelo Alvarez? Is that what you're hoping for? That they will buy out your existing deal that doesn't even have that much time or that many fights left? You're trying to peel out now because you're afraid you're gonna lose your next fight. That's what it is. Instead of just getting in there, doing your job, and holding up your end of the bargain, you want to terminate the deal prematurely because you're afraid.
That's why he doesn't want to see out the life of the deal.
I don't expect him, or his father, or his longtime manager, David McWater, to say that, but that's what it is. If the deal ain't got that much time left on it or that many fights, why would you want to buy out? It's because you're afraid of what's going to happen.
So you want to leave early?
Though it would set a bad precedent moving forward if Top Rank were to release him just because he's behaving like a spoiled brat, throwing his toys out of the pram.
Yeah.
Then every fighter's going to do that. As soon as they want to achieve free agency, they're going to do what he does. If they buckle, if they acquiesce.
They can't. Honor the deal. It's as simple as that.
They're not asking him to do anything that Terrence Crawford didn't already do, or Shakur Stevenson didn't already do.
And they became free agents, eventually.
You want to talk about them? You want to talk about their schedule? Why don't you tell the whole story? They saw out the life of their deals. Why don't you want to see out the life of yours?
Get in there and fight.
In men's heavyweight news, a brewing feud of monumental proportions, continental proportions, on the African continent, as Anthony Joshua, who is still coming off that shock upset loss to Daniel Dubois, is called out by African Danger Man, Martin Bakole, who is not happy with Anthony. The former sparring partners appeared to be on good terms, but not anymore, after Bakole, 21-1 with 16 KOs, posted a video to his ex account earlier today. Bakole, ranked top 5 with all 4 sanctioning bodies, is due to face F.A. Ajagba, 20-1 with 14 KOs, in an IBF World Title Eliminator this year. A date and venue is still to be announced, but their fight could take place on a future Riyadh season show. Joshua, 28-4 with 28 KOs, is currently in Nigeria, visiting family, and he was recently asked his thoughts on a fight between Ajagba, who hails from Ughelli in Nigeria, and Bakole. The former heavyweight champion said, "Two giants of Africa coming together to collide. It's going to be an interesting fight. F.A. is a good boxer, and I'm going to support F.A. even though he doesn't support me. I'm backing him to beat Bakole because we are from the same place, and I really want to see him do well." But that has not gone down too well with the Scottish-based, Congolese-born Bakole, who issued a response to Anthony's comments.
Hey, Anthony Joshua, this video is for you. I call out, I wanted to knock you out, and now you're talking shit to say Ajagba. Ajagba is going to beat me. Shame on you. How many times did I call you out? How many times did I ask you to fight in Africa? You don't even feel shame of yourself. I want to fight you. I want to knock you out. Look at Daniel Dubois, broke his nose twice. He knocked you out cold. What happened to me? I'll knock you out in the first round. You're talking about Ajagba. Ajagba is a baby. Wait, you will see how I'm going to knock him out. I'll invite you to be there. You're talking shit. I want to fight you. Stop talking nonsense. Now you say you're Nigeria. You're not British anymore. I'll knock you out. I'm African giant. I'm African warrior. I'll knock you out, you. After knocking Ajagba out, I'll knock you out as well.
Joshua is taking some time out of the sport after a devastating knockout loss to Daniel Dubois, in which AJ was knocked out in the 5th round, having already been dropped 3 times previously during the fight in September at Wembley Stadium. Dubois retained his IBF heavyweight title and now goes on to face Joseph Parquier in Riyadh on February 22nd. Joshua's own career was left hanging by a thread after his 4th loss. But the British star is hoping to secure a fight with Tyson Fury this year and still harbors ambitions of becoming a 3-time heavyweight champion. Bakole, meanwhile, has been one of the most avoided fighters in the division. The 6'6" heavyweight demolished American hopeful Jared Anderson last August to cement his reputation as a fearsome puncher, and in 2025 could finally land a shot at one of the 4 titles.
They ain't gonna fight.
Whether Martin Bakole wins against F.A. Ajagba or loses against F.A. Ajagba, I do not anticipate that him and Anthony are on a collision course, because Anthony's focus seems to be settling affairs with Tyson Fury. In reality, the fight that Martin is about to have lines him up for Daniel Dubois more than Anthony Joshua. It's an IBF eliminator.
Daniel is IBF champion.
Now, you want to get in your man tits because Anthony's backing a Nigerian fighter. Anthony's Nigerian himself. What do you expect? It's no different than what you would expect Martin Bakole to say about a Congolese fighter. I don't think most people would back Anthony to win that fight at this point. A fight with Martin Bakole. Not that I expect it to happen, though if it did, Anthony would likely be the underdog. It's gonna be a long road back for Anthony. In a fight that he was so heavily favored to win, he was dispatched in under 6 rounds. That's saying he didn't even make it to the midway point.
Got destroyed.
And I like the guy. I've been a fan of him for years. I think he's been great for the heavyweight division, for British boxing, and boxing as a whole. Though Martin Bakole, and a fight with him, I don't think ranks very high on Anthony's to-do list at this point. The most that he can hope to do is get it together enough to have that fight with Tyson Fury and win it. So if nothing else, can at least be remembered as the 2nd best heavyweight of this era. If he beats Tyson Fury, that's how it'll be. Usyk is so clearly number 1.
Anthony, if he beats Tyson Fury, he'll be number 2.
Anthony's career is winding down. So is Tyson Fury's, to where a guy like Martin Bakole,
No incentive to fight him.
so he can get mad, he can get upset, but it's not going to get him anywhere.